supposed to have this conversation. Pay attention to this one. And like the collection of those over time, there's probably those moments happening right now for you in the last couple days just being here, where it's like they're going to come back in 2-3 years and something's going to be like, oh.
That is so interesting.
It's all connected. Nothing is wasted ever.
Yeah.
So what were you doing for those 14 months? What was that company?
It's so Cutco. Have you ever heard of Cutco knives? Okay, from Lowe's. You have some.
I grew up with them.
Oh really?
Oh, yeah.
And you have all your fingers?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So
I grew up knowing how to cut with real knives.
Yeah.
So I was basically I was the sales manager of Dean's office, and in that time frame, in 2021, which was a down year for the company, we broke the all-time record for sales in a year. So we finished at 4.7 million.
That's crazy. Good for you.
Yeah, and that was what a wild ride, and then to see the rest of the company struggling and then not be able to relate.
Yeah.
It almost is it's a really weird feeling.
I'm sure.
But yeah, we crushed it in 2021, and then we opened up this year with a $100,000 lead when I passed the torch to the next guy, and so we crushed it.
What a good feeling for you too.
Yeah, to leave on top, and Dane took me to Vegas. I got to experience that, and
Dude.
that was kind of the end of that. And now I opened my own office in May, so I'm building my own.
Yeah.
Which has been a whole different journey and has been awesome, and yeah.
And I'm sure there'll be all types of lessons and trials and tribulations in that. Yeah.
Lessons for sure. Today is the first day that I'm not on training.
Yeah.
With our team,
There
and
you
we had a 25% show to training. That's really bad. So
Wow.
lessons, of course. And now when you guys walked in, I was I was writing over here trying to figure out okay, next time, how the hell am I gonna avoid this? So
because you were the one running the call, I'm guessing.
yeah, I've been on every training, every second of it since, and I usually run most of it now too.
Yeah.
And I'm down here obviously for the book thing. So yeah, lessons for sure.
So talk to us a little bit about that. What's it like being in the process of writing a book? What are you writing about? What's the book gonna be about? Talk to us about that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited.
You can start your book tour. Are you on your book tour right now?
This is the
it.
start
This
of
is
the
the start of his
book
book
tour.
tour, dude.
Let's go.
I'm honored.
This is the start of the book tour.
Big podcast for you, dude.
Yeah.
This is huge. I always look back at this one. This is
I would say in 30 years when you're up there with Grant Cardone and all those guys, they're like, yo, we had it first.
literally.
Yeah.
This is a combo, Jeremy. This is one of those moments.
Exactly.
But the book is awesome because it outlines a lot of what we were just talking about with what it's 26.2, and then playing with names right now, but 26.2, the ultimate blueprint to accomplishing your wildest dream is what I like right now.
Yeah.
But basically what it is, it's how I went from 0 miles. I'd never run more than a mile before. From 0 miles to marathon in 20 weeks, and the marathon was on a treadmill. So it was a treadmill marathon.
That's right. You did the treadmill marathon.
Yeah, and it was because of COVID and it was that time when I moved back home in 2020. So I was just August came around, I dropped out of school, and I was looking for a challenge, and it was on my dreams list, and I said, screw it, I'm going to run a marathon. And it was, I think 2 weeks in, I was almost going to quit. I was like, all right, I've never liked to run. Why did I do this?
Yeah.
Stupid. And Colton Horn, who founder of Brain Fuel, which is the hat I'm wearing right now. Yeah. So I reached out to him, and I was like, any words of advice? I don't really. And he said, why don't you journal every week the biggest lesson from that week, and at the end, finish the marathon, write a book. And I was like, oh, that's really good. So every week, the only reason I did my training sessions was to journal it, to write a book.
How ironic is that?
And so finished it, and when I sat down, I was on an airplane on the way to Oahu in March of 2021.
Yeah.
9-hour flight.
Yeah.
So I took all my journal entries, and I almost mapped out the lessons, and it was a perfect graph that coincided with anything, the rise in real estate investing. It's all the same process, doing something wildly, I'm gonna go conquer this, or I'm gonna start a business, or I'm gonna do, it's all the same process, and it was the same process in the marathon training. So it's gonna be kind of like an overlap of the marathon journals with the lesson I learned and how to apply that to really anything.
Dude,
That's beautiful.
that is so cool. I can't wait to read it. When's it being published?
Depends how fast I get the
Depends.
manuscript.
I love it. Well, please keep us posted. That's I've something I've always loved is the correlation that comes to physical hardship that you choose to put yourself through and what comes with that. I think is one, especially for men, is one of the most underrated things you can do for yourself. Whether it be a marathon, just something that is an edge for you, and then tracking like your experience through that.
You know, you biked across the country.
I did. Did
heard
you
about
jump that?
Yeah, a little bit
Guess.
about it.
You guess, yeah. I biked across America. I did, yeah.
Yeah.
And that, like, so you get, like, it's not even the physical,
No,
it's
not.
the mental.
It
It
is.
is all the mental grind.
For sure. And there's lots of things that I've done that it doesn't matter how long it is. It could be just a 1-day event, a 3-month event. It's the same concept.
He also liked the 24-hour races.
There's like 24-hour events too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dude, I can't even imagine. Like,
It's like it's just concentrated. It's like instead of doing it over 75 days, it's like for the next 24 hours you're just gonna.
But to your point, I imagine it's the same journey.
It is.
It's just like you said, it's condensed, but it's the same ups, downs. You start to ask yourself the same questions. You start to go back and like, should I do it? And then you get past it. It's the same thing.
it totally is. And then there's also, like, there are things you can do to almost trap yourself into success with something like a treadmill marathon or a 24-hour race.
Mm-hmm.
And some of it is environment, like setting up the environment. One of my favorite books ever, I've read it or listened to it a couple of times, Willpower Doesn't Work by Dr. Ben Hardy.
Never heard of it.
Oh, it's so good because as humans, you've probably heard of willpower before.
Oh yeah, I know what it is.
There's really, if you can just trap yourself with the right environment and the right people around you and the routines and the habits, you don't have to make decisions because eventually we all have a finite amount of willpower each day.
Yeah.
You probably feel like at 5-6 o'clock when it's like, fuck, I'm done.
Yeah.
But so the less willpower you can use and the more just like, this is the routine, these are the habits.
So it's almost like just replay. It's like instead of being on the default of all the shitty behavior,
Get
just,
addicted to the good ones.
just be like, oh, my default is this, just because I know nothing different.
Exactly. Like,
So-
wake up, morning routine, go to the gym before you even think about what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for you, is that something that you learned in that book? Like, how did that transfer for you during those 20 weeks to trap yourself in that?
Oh man, those 20 weeks it was interesting because that was COVID in Minnesota. So at first I was going to run it outside and then races got canceled. So then it was, okay, well shit, if I'm going to run this on a treadmill, I should train on a treadmill. So I started training on a treadmill and then our governor in Minnesota shut down all the gyms like mid-November. So I'm like, wait, so there's a foot of snow and no gyms. It would have been so easy to be like, well, shit, I'm done, you know? But I had trapped myself with outward accountability. I told the Champ Dev group many times I was running a marathon. My whole family knew. All my friends knew about it. I had runner friends that I was like consulting with all the time of like, hey, I'm not feeling like I want to run today. And I almost didn't even do it for myself. I did it because I told so many people I was going to do it.
Yeah.
That was me when I did my bike trip. I was like, too many people know.
Yeah.
Like, I can't not do it.
That's a huge lesson though, right there. That is, it's like you said, you didn't do it for yourself. You did it for something that was bigger than you, and you did it for a reason. Like you did it because they probably you didn't want them to look at you and be like, he's someone who says he's going to do something and didn't do it.
100%.
But here's the thing with that: when you say you're doing it for someone bigger than you, you showed every single person that you told that you can do these types of things that you commit to through hardship. And so you actually showed, you taught them a lesson. You did something much more for them than you actually think you did. You understand what I'm saying?
That is, he's 100% right by default. Even if they don't tell you, I promise you, the amount of people that just know you did that,
It unlocks something.
it unlocks something in them that they probably won't ever tell you.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then when you doubt yourself in the future, it's like, oh, well, there might be someone that's like doing their own thing, and they're using you as motivation of like, oh, well, Alex is still going, so
Yeah.
I can't give up.
They'll remember it one day. Like, remember that time Alex ran and like it was during COVID and there was snow on the ground, and that'll be the thing that pushes them to do that thing, whatever it is for them. So you've done something much bigger for yourself and or for the community. And I think there's a lot to be said about that. Like, doing things for more than just yourself. Those, in my opinion, have been the most worthwhile endeavors in my life. The things that I've done for someone besides me. You know what I mean?
For sure. That
And
is,
for your future self.
that's for sure too. Yeah. Doing for other, like the impact, that's why, like if I would just sell Cutco, I'd make so much more money than running the office, but it's not, like we were talking about earlier, the money is so, it's such a weird, I don't know if I'm going to say concept, but like more money doesn't always equal more happiness, more fulfillment, whatever. And so being able to find the things that fill me up, that's one of the reasons it's not hard for me to wake up. I have 30 people in my organization that I'm building with that are counting on me to lead them every day. Like I have to get up.
That's
There's
good,
not it's not a choice.
You trap yourself into that into that loop. Or
Yeah.
What word did you use? Not loop. Like trapping yourself into that successful habit of like now you have other people. That's part of that motivation now. I'm guessing.
Yeah, it totally is.
That's awesome, man. So I know we're getting fairly close here. I got one other question before we get to that last question.
Yeah.
If there is someone who's sitting here listening right now and he's a small town kid, you know, in the middle of Minnesota somewhere, he happens to stumble upon the Before They Were podcast years down the line, and he's at this point in his life where he's just like, dude, I don't know what I want. I just know I want something different than this. Rap to that man for a little bit. Like, what would you tell him?
Man, that is so funny how timing things like that work. Like, Never Meet Your Heroes has come up 4 times in the last week and a half. Now this concept has come up 3 times. What you just described was my avatar for my book.
Really?
So, but writing my book is to who you just. So part of the book writing process is creating an avatar.
Right.
Creating a target audience and then going even deeper into that and like picking one person to write to.
Right.
And there is one person from my like hometown area, and I'm not going to say who, but there's one person I'm writing this book for.
Yeah.
I might tell them in a decade.
Right.
I love that so much.
And so every word, every chapter is like written specifically to this one person.
Yeah.
And I've also heard this is the best way to do, like, if you're going to do social media marketing or that kind of thing, to do the same thing.
Talk to the one person.
Yeah. Kendall, our good friend Kendall, he told me I'm one of his avatars. I was like, damn, that is humbling as shit. I was like, every post you're writing, now every time you post, I'm like reading every word.
Yeah. But it makes sense. It's like one bullet to the whole shotgun. It's like you're in that one person.
Hit that person, and we sort of hit on this a little bit earlier, but depth. Right, that's depth. That's not going out and trying to hit everyone. That's like there are 1,000 people that this is gonna hit to their core, and change their life. 10,000, 100,000, right?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. But as far as like what I would say to that person, I would say number one, if you want a different life, like if you actually want a different life, you just have to go create that, because nobody. I hate using like overgeneralizing terms like nobody cares, but really nobody cares. Like
it's true.
Nobody cares.
And not in a bad way. It's just like they don't have the space to care that much. For
They're in their own worlds.
Everyone's got their own shit.
Yeah.
Exactly, and
nobody cares. I love
like
it.
nobody
So
actually cares. Like if you are stuck in your like. Whatever the example you said was somebody who's in a small town in Minnesota and like
right.
That kid, like if you feel like you're destined to be more than your job pouring concrete, like then you have to go create that, because I can't want that for you. Lois can't want that for you. Your future kids, like your parents, like nobody will want that for you. So if you want it, you have to go get it. And it doesn't even have to be success or making a bunch of money.